Hello and welcome to the first lesson of the course. The first thing we're going to do is create the basic shapes, in this case the square and the two rectangles that contain the title and the subtitle. Go to the project window and right-click to select New Composition. We'll name it Lower Third Project and we'll adjust the settings. Make sure the width is 1920 and the height 1080. 29.27 in the frame rate. That's frames per second. And in duration we'll put 6 seconds and add another 10 frames. We'll leave the background black and click OK. Now that we have this, grab the hand tool to move the artboard up a little, as we'll be creating our animation on this bottom part here. Let's start with the square of the logo. Go to the rectangle tool and double click. See how a rectangle has been created. That's the same size as the artboard, and it also has the same settings as our composition. We need to make some adjustments though. Go to the path of the rectangle we just made and remove this option here, which is to constrain proportions. Put instead 285 by 285. We don't need a fill, so press delete to get rid of it. We'll make the stroke 15 pixels. Let's move it to this bottom corner. Zoom in. Let's put it in place. OK. Now we'll change the name of this layer. Just click on the layer like this and type in the new name. I'll call it Logo Square, as we're going to place our logo inside the square. We're now going to make the rectangle where we'll place our title. So again, go to the rectangle tool and double click. Go to the path of this rectangle and like we did before, remove this option here. Why do we have to uncheck it before we change the size? Because if we don't and then try to adjust it, see how it scales proportionally. So we need to remove it so we can adjust the size however we like. So we'll change it to 1030 by 172 pixels. In this case, we don't want a stroke. So click here and remove the stroke and change the fill to white. We'll adjust the position and place it next to the square we just made. We're now going to move the anchor point with the pan behind tool. Drag it to the left. Zoom in to place it correctly. This is a necessary step and you'll see why later on, when we make our animation. Great, so this is ready. What we need to do now is create another rectangle for our subtitle. Let's change the name of the first rectangle to Title Rectangle. Then Ctrl D to duplicate this layer. You could also do this by going to Edit, Duplicate. And we'll change the name of the new layer to Subtitle Rectangle. Drag it down to place it underneath the title rectangle. Remove the fill and set the stroke to 15 pixels. Go again to the path of the new rectangle where we'll adjust the size. Set it to 642 by 128. Now we'll move it to put it in place, right here. You see that the stroke on the top is covered by the rectangle above it. This is necessary for our animation, as we'll see later on. We need to change the position of the layers so this is placed correctly. And we'll do it like this. Put logo square on the top and place subtitle underneath title. Let's change the color of the subtitle. Zoom in to see if we've placed it correctly. As you can see, there's a strip of red here that hasn't been covered, so let's fix that. Okay, adjust it, but make sure it's proportionate to the square on the left too. And I think that's okay. We can now change the color back to white. And with that, our basic shapes are ready to animate. If we take a look at the animation, see there are 3 strokes in the square, but we only have 1. So let's start by animating the first one. In the options for the square, click on Add, where we're going to add an animation. Select Trim Paths. In the options for this effect, you have Start, End, and Offset. When we adjust the values in Start, see what happens. The effect trims the stroke. We'll add a keyframe at the beginning. Go to the frame 25 and add another keyframe. Click there on Keyframe. Make the first one 100%. Select both keyframes and right-click to select Keyframe Assistant, Easy Ease, which you can also do by pressing F9. However, before we do that, let's go to the graph editor, where you see that we have a linear animation. If we apply Easy Ease, now when we go back to the graph editor, you see that we have a curve. Now let's go to Edit Speed Graph. Here you see the curve of the animation. Press spacebar to take a look at our animation. And that's what we have up to now. We can adjust these points here to change the speeds. So we could make it go faster at the beginning of the animation. So it will start quickly and then gradually get slower. Spacebar again to see this. You can see the effect. It starts fast and it ends slower. Obviously, we need 2 more strokes. That's why I decided to start by animating 1 stroke first, so we can just duplicate that, and the animation is already done. If we would have made the 3 strokes first, then we would have had to animate them one by one. But now we only need to duplicate the stroke we made by pressing Ctrl D. And again Ctrl D, and we now have the 3 animated strokes. We just need to adjust the times of each one so we can see them all separately. Move the logo 2 5 frames forward. Move number 3 10 frames forward. If we preview the animation, it looks like there's only 1 stroke. That's because we still need to change the colors. The top one we leave white. That's the one that will appear at the end. The next one will be yellow, and the logo one red. We can just select the color from the original file where the animation is. Click on the yellow color and with Ctrl+C, copy the code. Go to logo 2, the one in the middle, and copy the code with Ctrl+V in the stroke. Now do the same with the red. Copy the code with Ctrl+C and then go back to the project and paste the codes in the stroke for the logo 1 layer with Ctrl+V. Press spacebar to take a look at the animation, and as you can see, it's looking good. I've just realized that the rectangle for our subtitle is slightly lower than the square, so I just need to adjust it by moving it up a little bit. If you press Ctrl+R, you can get the rulers. I can drag a line down like this to see if it's straight. Zoom in to see it properly. I think I need to adjust it a tiny bit more. Okay, there we go. Drag the line of the ruler up again to get rid of it. So the animation of the square is done. We can preview it and it looks great. I've used these colors, but of course feel free to use whatever colors you like. Now we need to animate this top rectangle, which is where our title is going to go. Remember how we placed the anchor point right here earlier on. This is necessary because it means that's where our animation starts from the left side towards the right. Let's go to the title rectangle and we're going to create some keyframes to animate this. Open the options and go to the path. We need to look for the scale, which you'll find here in the transform options. We could have done this by pressing S. See how the scale appears here. Add a keyframe here and go to the second number 1. See here that we're at 1. Now we create another keyframe right here. Go back to the first keyframe and we need to remove the option of constraint proportions, so that we can scale just the first value. Let's put it all the way down to 0. Now select both keyframes, right-click, Keyframe Assistant, Easy Ease. Go to the graph editor and remember that we have it set at the speed graph. We are going to apply the same effect we did before. Let's drag this point here to the left. And this second one also to the left. As you can see here on the graph, it starts off quickly and it slows down gradually. Let's take a look at the animation. Press spacebar and as you can see, it's looking good. As you know, we need this rectangle to appear 3 times. So that's why we animated this first rectangle so that we just need to duplicate it to get the other 2. Ctrl+D twice to get another 2 rectangles. And there we go. We need to adjust the timings for each one. So move rectangle 2 to frame 5. And rectangle 3, which will be our white one, up to frame 10. I already have the red color copied, so I can just press Ctrl+V to paste it in the fill color. And now for the next one. I'll go to the original file and copy the yellow color. Now go back to rectangle 2 and paste with Ctrl+V. Press spacebar to play the animation and see how it's coming along. It's looking good. Now all that's left is to animate the subtitle rectangle. This will be pretty much the same as the animation we did for the logo square. We'll go to the first logo square here, press U and select the keyframes. Ctrl C to copy and go to the start of the subtitle rectangle and Ctrl V to paste them. Press U and you can see they've been pasted there. The problem is that the top stroke appears before it's supposed to. So we just need to move them forward a bit so the animation of the rectangle starts later. Again, we need 3 animated rectangles, so Ctrl D to duplicate this one and get another 2. And there we have 3 rectangles that are animated. We need to change the color of the stroke. Use the eyedropper tool to first select the yellow color from here. And the same for the red color. So, as we saw that the stroke at the top starts too early, we need to move these rectangles forward. Select the 3 rectangles at frame 10. Select the first one, then shift to select the other 2. Move them forward to frame 10. But we can only see one, so we need to move them each separately so we are able to see them all. Move rectangle 2 to frame 15. And number 3 to frame 20. Now each one is separated by 5 frames. Now press the spacebar to preview our animation. I think it looks good. The next step is to add the logo, the title and subtitle to our project. See you in the next lesson.